there's not very much you can build out of the Ancient of Wind. It's not going to take damage from the demos. One thing I've seen a few really intelligent elves do, if you can delay the tower push, which it might have been delayed if Eric hadn't been smart and sent those peons out early. You can delay the tower push to when your winds are up. You can go Hippo Rider, and basically what happens is even if they have a Blade Master, Naga, and 4 grunts and towers going up, you can use the Hippo Riders, which can't really be attacked by anything other than the Naga, to take out the towers as they're in construction, which is a really, really smart thing to do. But anyways, you're about to see Eric's smart and he's constantly buying health potions on his Demon Hunter because he knows it's only on his Blade Master, and he knows because it's level 1 it's going to die pretty quickly. And Check's got to do his best to keep this Ancient of War alive because it's pretty much the only thing that's going to tank those Demolishers and give his high damage but low health army any time to attack. So again, at this point, it's very difficult for the elf to win. I'm trying to be unbiased and give the elf player some tips. Truthfully, if he had scouted those peons coming in, though, I don't think he would have lost this game. But then again, if Eric had not lost the Blade Master stupidly, then he wouldn't have had to rely on the kind of luck of the elf not scouting the towers. But anyways, you can see the effectiveness of what happened is he only has one Ancient of Wind still, another one later on, but he only has one right now, and he is forced to stay tier 2 right now, and a lot of that is because of how powerful and effective Eric's harass was on his wisps, and given that harass, the changes he made in strategy, very, very intelligent play on his part. Because again, no offense to Eric, but I'm not sure if he could have beaten Check. Run Raider Walker versus Matt Stotts. It's a difficult thing to do versus any elf. And of course, Check is a very, very good elf. I'm kind of puzzled by the fact that Eric's not pushing further into his base with towers. That's one of the advantages to this strategy, and something that I certainly would be doing, is building towers ever closer towards the Tree of Ages, and at the point that you can choke off their gold income, you've pretty much won the game. But if you see, he's got 2 more Ancient of Wars going up. The more pressure you apply, and the more towers you have, the less effective those Ancient of Wars become, and the harder it is for the elf to use them as tanks. But as it stands right now, he's actually got a chance, and the weird thing is that Eric put up a bestiary, and he's building raiders. So I guess he's thinking that he needs to do better and assume that the game's going to go longer, but truthfully I think if he continued to build towers in, he could pressure Check a lot more than he's doing. And another thing that I think he should have done a long time ago, and he hasn't done, he's focusing on those Ancients of War, but I think if he took out the shop, that'd be a lot more effective. The shop right now, because it's daytime, because he only has 2 Moonwells, and because those Moonwells have a combined about 100 well juice, even less, the shop's his only source of healing. So it's not the most difficult thing in the world to cut that off from a long distance. You just win off Blade Master until the demos have view of the shop, and you just take it out. But anyways, so here he is. He's attempting now, a little late, to put up the towers. Not a little late, I guess, but later than it could be. The nice thing about Raiders, like I said, the nice thing about the Naga is with Ensnare and with Frost Arrow, you can keep a hero like the Demon Hunter in range of the towers longer than it would want to be. So like versus human, if they just like straight tier 1 tower rush you, you can pretty much gauge how long your Blade Master, for example, can stay in range of the towers before you have to run away. But the elf versus Raiders and versus Frost Arrow has to factor those 2 things in, and it makes it a lot riskier to come in range of the towers. So worth noting. And it's at this point where you've really got them kind of, he can't really just have his DOS chilling in the back because the Windwalked Blade Master will come in and then the demos will snipe them. He really has to apply some pressure. And I think Eric's done a pretty good job of denying that pressure, mainly by keeping the plots on his hero and by retreating at all the right times. And the Ancients of the nice thing about Raiders too against Ancients of War is when they come in range of your towers, you let your towers beat on the Ancients, and you ensnare as many of the wisps as possible. I love that word, wisps. Anyway, ensnare as many of them as possible, and they're going to die very quickly to tower focus fire. So again, this is, I mean, Eric's heroes are pretty, in a straight-up battle here, I don't think Eric would have much of a chance. Well, actually, now he would at this point, he would, but his heroes are still very low level. Level 1 Naga dies very quickly and is pretty much useless unless you have a superior army, which he did early on. Which, again, the Naga just, like, gets worse and worse as the game goes on. So if you're going Naga second, it's because you intend to tower rush, I assume. Otherwise, it's much better to have the Torn Chieftain. Although you'll see some more players will get a Naga just to pressure more at tier 2, while they're actually throwing up a Bestiary and the Spirit Lodge. And that can work if you gain enough of a tier 2 advantage, but again, risky. And Shockwave is definitely your best bet for AoE against dots. So again, Eric, I think, is just prolonging. I don't know what Eric's doing. And I really feel like he could fight at this point. There's only 2 Moonwells left. You just have to ignore the Demon Hunter, which I guess is a little bit of a risk. But if you use those demos in the attack round, the archers die so fast. And he's doing a good job pressuring the hull. Check only has, I think, he had 3 Wisps on gold, now he has 4, because he's had to repair. And looking at Check's resources, you know, he's very low on gold. He does have a 41 foot army, but he knows, I hope he knows that he can't fight against these towers. He does do something very clever, though. I don't know if you guys noticed, but he sent a wisp to the back of the Goblin Merchant, and he built a Tree of Life. So he's got this kind of backup plan going where he's going to prolong Eric's killing of his base for as long as possible to get as much gold as possible out of his mine, which is, you know, always a good idea. And then he's going to dare Eric to fight him in a one-on-one fight by building this expo. So Eric sees him trying to leave, and then does his best to take out the army. But you'll see, like, because he's got position with those Moonwells, that's not really a fight Eric wanted to push, let's say. And Check wants to leave because Check knows his time in this area is very limited because of those towers and their excellent range. And as great as Orc towers are offensively versus they're terrible defensively. That's one thing I should probably add. I mean, unless they're massive huntresses, and even then, they're not very great. And you're almost always better off making an army if you're gonna, you know, for defensive purposes, than you are towers. Whereas with human towers, I mean, they're excellent versus all races and almost all strategies. So you don't really need an army in all situations as human. Whereas if you were thinking, if you were thinking, you know, oh, I'll have 1 or 2 towers up just to defend against burrow harassment, or to let me tech without a barracks so I can get raiders, walkers faster. That's often a bad idea, just because they die so easily to archer focus fire and they do so little damage to archers and the demon hunter. But anyways, so Check's got his expansion going up. He's keeping the hawk near it, which is, I guess, a good idea to protect the wisps, even though he knows the blade isn't there. And he's going to do some creeping now while Eric finishes off his base, or I guess it's finished off, but while Eric stays near his base and protects his expansion going up. It's a very good idea for Check to creep for items and to gain the hero level advantage, because you can't really build an army at this point anymore, at least not until his expansion goes up. So his best chance really of taking on Eric one-on-one would be to have the better army. And he's already bought a potion of invulnerability from the shop, which is a great idea. He's got to be able to fight him. And then the next thing he can hope for, and he's actually going to have it happen, he can pretty safely creep with the Quill Beasts as tanks. And he's got 2 Moonwells up, so it's not like he can't heal at all. But definitely doesn't have great healing right now. But again, like, this mercenary camp is something that's very easy to creep. And if he has food, which he doesn't, it could have been a good source of a quick army for him. Never forget the mercenary camp, just for a quick army. But here, it takes out the dragon very quickly and gets the boots of Quel'Thalas. I really hope that's not how it's pronounced. But +6 agility, obviously very useful in Demon Hunter. Yeah, here we go. This is the Camp of Creep set, I believe. The mistake he's made here with the creeping is he's been a little ambitious. I think he's seen that the Blade Master has seen his town hall, so it's because he knows